You know, when you
And
think
then,
about the way synthetic
up on
aperture
the stick,
radar and
right?
sonar
yeah, the
works,
one on
you
your
gotta
left.
have multiple
Press that
drones
forward.
spread
You'll see,
out
remember
and
your
have a
blue box there? So you'll see what
much
your
larger
command is.
effective
This is gonna be
array
that.
size.
We need to be sure to talk to Dr. Ballard while he's here on this. We're here together because that's such a superb idea. I think you guys have just identified the future. And if anybody can make someone who has made the future come true regularly is Dr. Robert Ballard and the Nautilus and the Trust. I'd love to help y'all figure out how to make that happen.
I had the pleasure years ago of, I was out with the Ropos kids and in Bari, so we had the AUV going during the night, 12 hours,
right.
And we would dive the next day during the day for 12 hours. It's absolutely fabulous. Once you get to single digits there, Jaden, then you'll ease off on your verticals and just kind of come down slow.
Single digits of the altitude?
Yeah.
Okay.
What method of propulsion would be best to use, do you think, Dan and Brian, for a underwater AUV or drone that's autonomous?
The attractive one for me is, you know, a larger number of small units that could be battery powered, and then you could literally chuck them over the boat and in a time series. So
yep, just drop them.
As the battery of one, you know, is exhausted, you throw another one in. So there's always half a dozen swimming around.
Just cock and drop. Cock them and drop them. Okay,
Jaden, bring your head to the north there and push that stick forward. Fly out of your decimal.
Yeah, so you're going to inevitably go northeast, but...
Yeah, for now you can...
Yeah.
I'll let you play around with it a little. So here, I'll give you an example. That way's forward.
Okay.
And I've got the stick turned down to... So... think about your 7,000 pounds in velocity, so it's not, you know, instantly responsive. So you got to kind of lean into it, as I say.
Okay.
And I got to give you some tether. I'm a horrible Atlanta pilot. So you want to come to the east now.
Okay. Northeast or fully?
Let's come
east?
around all the way to the east. I'll turn this like so. I'll make it easy for you. You're at the end of your tether. It's going to be a...
Chris, what's caused the multi-beam, the side scan to lose its definition and resolution?
We're recording more longer periods of data, so I have it set to decimate the points.
Okay.
Just so we can keep track of where we've been.
Fly forward.
Got it.
Now.
Did you mean to click
If we
it off?
zoom in, you can see that we have...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just push forward.
It only keeps the high density for the last 5 minutes. It logs it, but it only displays the last 5 minutes of high resolution, just to ease the load on the computer.
I understand.
Don't
So
change your heading now. Just forward.
I'm probably going to need to move you.
And as you're flying forward, let's put full right lateral in. This is lateral, so this is lateral right, lateral left. So right, left, forward, back. And this will, like Atlanta, will change the yellow bullet. See the little yellow thing, and when you let go, it grabs that current heading.
Gotcha. So you said lateral right?
Yeah, we want to get a little closer to Atlanta. Or you can turn, it's probably quicker to do this. So sometimes we've got to go in not the direction we're going to get.
Hey, Chris, when you get a second, did you get a picture of Jaden in the pilot suit?
Oh yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Hold on, wait till I take my hand off the stick.
I gotta like live stream this back to the folks at USF.
Yeah.
They've been getting the full information feed, you know.
I'll get you lined up here. I had your way out of the box, so it's my bad. So what I'm doing, I'm full stick forward to the south, and I'll let you take it now. So keep going forward until you're in front of Atalanta, about there. And now bring your head to that northeast, I think is the way we're going to go.
Copy.
Northeast-ish. They don't have to be.
That's good.
So now we have all of our ducks in a row. That should be much easier for you. So you're about, you know where your altitude is there? You're about 4 meters up. I use the big ones because I'm old and blind, but you can probably see way better than I am. And they're in a wonky order there, which really messes with my reptile brain. But both Atalanta and Herc are on the same heading.
Okay.
And you're 10 meters or so away. So you got a big bow in your tether, so you probably got 10 to 20 meters in front of you to play around before you start pulling on the tether.
Okay.
And when you're ready, you can have Chris start moving the ship.
Are you ready?
Let her play around with that
Okay.
10, 20 meters there and just kind of get the feel of it.
Yeah.
You've probably been watching long enough to kind of judge the speed that we normally go.
Yeah.
You'll pick it up after a few minutes there. You'll know instantly that, well, you'll know soon enough by how fast the seabed's going by, what your speed is. That's really our only judge. So right about there, that's probably the perfect length in front of Atalanta. So you're just starting to pull Atalanta there. You see Atalanta spin around.
Yeah.
So you can hang out there and then wait for the ship.
All right.
You ready for the move?
Ready.
Bridge nav, 30 meters, 045.
So when you hear me ask to like come down right away, it's usually one of the, so we're stretched out. So if I come down a few meters, that takes the strain off. Well, I use Atalanta's camera more to manage my distance or how tight my tether is than to actually look at Hercules. Unless we're real up close and I'm, you know, we're doing cliff stuff or whatever, but in this case. And one of the other things I do when I first sit down is I will let go of the sticks, and I do it periodically during the operation, just to kind of see which way the current is pushing the vehicle. And I'll do that usually when I don't have a tight tether, so when I'm not getting some external force from Atalanta. But even if I am, like, you kind of, I don't know, I probably do it without thinking about it now, but that way I know which way the current is blowing will help you if you're wanting to get close to seabed or land. You typically want to have your Hercules facing into the current, so any stuff any debris you kick up will be blown back away from the camera. If it's behind you, it's really, you know, you can see when we do that, it's all the particles come into the camera and you can't see what we're looking at.
Hey Brian, we have a question from a viewer. Do bramble sharks, are they found around these waters here in Palau or in the Pacific?
Bramble sharks or bamboo sharks?
Bramble.
Bramble sharks. Let me try and remember what the...
You can
brown bull, brown
play
bull,
around while you're
BULL.
waiting, Jaden. So you can play around with the lateral left and right, change your heading a little bit.
Oh yeah,
You're in the box now,
Echinorinis.
so you can
Yeah,
take it out
they are
as
found around here. We
far as you're
actually,
comfortable with.
so back in March,
Alright.
myself and Jeff Drazen, one of the science leads for this cruise, were here in Palau with National Geographic, and we were doing deep sea baited camera research.
There's a,
So
if you
we have
lateral to
autonomous
your
cameras,
left, there's a little rock
with
outcrop.
some
Copy.
delicious smelling fish attached to them, and it was designed to survey the scavengers
Back up just a little bit.
that are sometimes
You can see
scared
it right
away
there.
by ROVs. And
Ow.
bramble sharks were
Gotcha.
frequently observed on our survey. So we haven't seen any here. They tend to be a bit more shy with the ROV, but that's one great thing about this expedition
want, you
is
could turn
we
your
have
head
these
in and
two
look at it, or
complementary
you can
data sets
lateral
of
over
the
it,
baited
either
cameras
one.
and the ROV surveys.
I tend to,
Are bramble sharks similar to leopard sharks?
if we're stationary, I'll
I
turn
don't
my
know
head in.
all of their
If we're moving,
life
I'll
history,
lateral.
traits, and behaviors, and
Gotcha.
things like that.
If I turn my
But
heading all around, I wind up
bamboo
getting
sharks
lost and
are,
go the wrong way
are
every
smaller.
time.
They're a benthic
You
shark,
might not have that problem.
and they're shallower as well.
Jaden, if you want to challenge, you want to see if we can get a little closer look at that?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Bridge, give me another 20 meters.
Do I have to set it down for us to zoom?
Yeah, if you want to adjust your altitude, which you will, to get a close look. So the first thing you do is take off auto altitude.
Yep.
Because it'll auto you right into the mud or the rock.
Okay.
And then, yeah, slowly give it a little down thrust and see what happens. And then let go of it, see how long it takes for the down thrust to stop. So ideally, if you're going to touch, and then also I give a little forward too as you're coming down. So you see how it kept going after you let go a bit there?
Yeah.
So that's something you just got to work out by playing with it. Ideally, when you're coming down to land or touch, you want to let off the vertical, and as the velocity will be pretty close to zero right as you're touching down. It's like an airplane or a helicopter. You don't want to land at full speed on it. Or you're not going to hurt anything by doing that. You'll just create a giant dust cloud and won't be able to see what you're trying to look at. So I guess, yes, slow, to begin with, slow like the arm, slow movements are more ideal. And it's much prettier to watch the videos. It's beautiful.
So this is a Proisocrinus ruberimus.
We do have to
Dr.
keep an eye on
Crane.
recovery time, Dan.
Roger.
Surface time.
Yeah, what did you say, an hour?
You said 25 meters a minute?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's an
So-
hour ride home, right?
1,500 divided by
Hour and a half ride home.
25, yes. Well, no, that's 50, or an hour.
What's our current depth?
1,500 meters.
Closer to 16.
Yeah, closer to 16.
16, sorry. High round.
We're right at the top. All right.
We are, so the top's pretty broad and kind
Yeah.
of flat, so there's...
Maybe let's leave like an hour and 15.
We've approached kind of, we're getting right up to the top flat area. The very, very peak
Yeah, usually
of
that
it
about
is
10 minutes.
quite a little ways away, but it's
Sorry.
only like another 50 meters shallower than where we are now.
Okay, that's probably good there, Jaden. You can mosey out and get
Yeah.
that.
We probably have room to get to the slack to get to the rock pile,
Yeah.
and then explore that for a bit, and then
Sounds like a plan to me.
we're probably pushing the time, yeah? Or no, never mind.
What?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Get to the the rock outcropping and start up.
Yeah, 6:30. We're supposed to be up at 8.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
I got. I count. My calculations say 15 minutes of bottom play time
It's okay.
left.
I got to an hour before the end of watch last night and was like, oh, I'm about ready to get off, and then was like,
Wait a minute. What
yeah.
time is it? 6:30.
Yeah.
6:30. 5:30. What's up with that?
It might be.
Did
is
it time
is
change?
Is it your
East
time
Coast
at
time?
home?
East Coast changed time today.
Yeah.
But
So you got this stuff right here, Jaden.
but no time change here,
So a
right?
little more to the right.
Correct.
Oh,
You
there
can-
isn't? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Come
The
on.
rest of the world fell back an hour, but not Palau, not Indiana or Palau
Or Hawaii.
or
Basi-
Hawaii.
Arizona.
Basically the same place.
Further to the right.
Yeah.
That would also explain why I was
You can
late
kind of
to
see
watch.
the shape. Let me switch it to cube mode. Cube mode's not much better, is it? No? Octomap points. Box it. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm messing you up.
Hey, watch out for that rock.
Yeah, you do.
Ooh,
There we go.
Corals.
Cubes.
We just want to see detail, Chris.
Yeah, these look interesting.
Yeah, well, the detail doesn't exist for out here. We're gonna use cubes.
It's high
Is
altitude.
this the right area?
Sparsely branched.
Yeah, this is it.
grooves.
Okay.
You're there. Look, see, corals.
From mud.
Just like I said.
From mud. to
Right where I
orbit
told
to
you.
Corals.
Let's look at some corals.
See,
Not sure-
if you
not
look
sure who
out
found it,
here,
Jaden or Chris.
there's a team effort.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you a little more slack here since I can see the tether and
What are those green things sticking up, Chris?
green things. I don't know.
Those,
We're gonna
those
have
green
to
cubes.
these. Yeah, we're
Yes.
gonna have to see. That was at the very limits of the range, so it could be an artifact, or it could be something standing vertically. We'll have to go see. So let's check these guys out.
Pete.
we should time Chris and see how long he can go without panning or rotating the model.
Yeah.
So far it's like
See,
3 seconds.
so honestly, like I wiggle it often. You know what a wigglegram is, right?
You wiggle it constantly.
Yeah, it's it's the way to tell depth in a 2D screen. It's a advanced move, Dan. I you know, it's a secret of the pros. All right.
His brain can never fully absorb all the details, so he's constantly rotating it
Yeah.
like a sponge.
Am I getting too far away from Atalanta?
You might need a little
Yep.
bridge nav. Can we do another 30 meters?
Did you feel it? Did you feel
yeah.
the tug?
Yeah.
Yeah, after a while you can. Wow, it takes some operators like years to figure that out. You got it in like 5 minutes. I still often have to figure that out. But yeah, the one I keep a telltale eye on is if the Atalanta page is up here, those red bars. But the other one is the video. You'll see Atalanta swing around. That means you're pulling the tether.
Well, while we're waiting on the tether, we go back and maybe take a look at those taller bamboo corals we just passed.
Sure.
Yeah, actually, if you rotate, we'll get a little sweep on that with a multi-beam too. So, on the targets of interest out there, this will tell us if they're real or not. Oh yeah, there's something there. For sure.
Sure enough.
It's not as tall as it appeared. It looks like, which you often see at the far extremities of the outer beams. If there's something short standing up, it'll often appear slightly taller than
So
it is.
You see your snail trail there, Jaden?
Yeah.
That's where you came in. So if you, go back on that trail. For some, it's maybe the current pushing you north now, or it could be lying. Yeah, west to the south-ish. That's the rock there he's interested in.
Yep, just these white white branched whips right in front of us.
So as you turn to look at Atalanta, it's because your tether's tight, it might tend to try and pull you in a little bit.
Okay.
So I have to set down, right, to be able to zoom?
Nope, just sneak right up to him.
All right.
If you touch, you're too close.
It's the Dan sounding method.
You can gently touch them, you won't break them, as long as you're not,
So
spend any time on boats. Pulling a boat up to the dock, or ever sat there and watched people pull their boats up to the dock?
Is that a good spot to zoom
Yeah,
in?
beautiful.
How tall is
Let me know when you're ready.
it's pretty tall.
You can go ahead and zoom.
It's probably approaching 2 meters or more, so probably in excess of 6 feet would
And
be
it's,
my guess.
You can
Coral?
get
Yep, looks
some
like a bamboo coral.
you can get some sense on looking at Atalanta's camera. So Hercules is currently up. Jaden's altitude is 3 meters,
Oh wow, it's even bigger than I thought.
and if you look at the Atalanta camera, you can see that thing sticking right up in the middle of Herc. So yeah, it's a big one.
How tall do you estimate, Brian, looking at that from that perspective?
Probably closer to 3+ meters.
And with that size, how old is that bamboo coral, do you think?
Many hundreds of years.
It'd be great if we could get a view of the branching point.
If you kind of hold that, I'll tilt the camera down.
So one of the diagnostic criteria on a lot of these bamboo
For
corals
example, let's
is,
get it at
do they
another
branch
10
at a
meters.
node or
Are you
in
okay with
between
that,
nodes?
Jade?
So
Yep.
I'm going to tilt your camera
bamboo corals are, distinguished as a group. They have these black nodes in between sections of white skeleton, and some of them grow a new branch at that black spot, and others grow it in between, but never both.
If you
Is there a meaning?
center that up, she
Why,
can
why
zoom
they
back in.
why do they differ? Has anyone figured out why they're different?
I don't believe so, but Scott France or Les Watling would be the people to ask. They are the experts in the taxonomy of this group.
I'll tilt up just a little bit, and then you should be good for a zoom. Whenever you're ready, you can have Amber zoom in a little.
All right, you can go ahead and zoom.
Okay, Sammy.
That's good. I'm going to tilt down for you a little.
Looks like a nodal brancher. All right, I think that's what we need here. If we want to take the next 5 minutes and go find the last tall thing on Chris's toy, and then we can call it a dive.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I think
tilt
we
back
should
up
have
for
enough
you.
to get out there.
Give Jaden range at bearing. I think you want to turn to your... if you
Yeah.
go ahead and turn to your right,
Yeah.
I'll take that tether wrap out.
Should be something like 060-ish. You can see it on here too, so we'll dial it in once we...
Copy.
We used to always get the question on the from our viewers is this like playing a video game at all? And I used to say it's absolutely nothing like playing a video game. It's very oily for one, and has lethal voltage and all that stuff. And
Sounds like you've played some pretty boring video games in your day.
Yeah. Well, then came Chris with his Minecraft toy, and it's a lot like playing a video game, because right now Jaden's basically playing a video game over there. She's playing a little model Hercules around. It's like a Minecraft Hercules. You know, I bet you could do a Minecraft world with that, and
oh, it's been done.
It might take off.
Chris?
Is it on your server at home, Chris?
I didn't do it. That was they did that in the Roman lab before.
Really?
Yeah.
With Hercules?
No, not with Hercules. I guess they did with shipboard, which, I mean, you know.
We want a Hercules Minecraft world.
That
Yeah.
I have to see. That sounds pretty funny.
Chris, how far away are these tall
this is them right here. Like I said, I don't know that they're quite as tall as they appeared in the outer beams. You get the beams sort of smear together when they're way at the extreme range, so sometimes things look a little taller, especially if it's a very bright target like this.
So the interesting thing is they don't show up on any of our sonars, so both the sonars on Hercules and Atalanta can't see those.
Yeah.
That means I'm above it, right?
Yeah, that does. So in theory.
All right.
Well, the sonar's above it, so the sonar's up 2 meters. So your altitude is 3 meters. The sonars are 2 meters above that, so your sonar's at 5 meters.
Okay.
But the rocks could be like 4 meters, and you would touch them.
So should I come up a little bit?
No, I think you're okay.
So another one of those tall bamboo whips. Yep. Another Parazoanthidae, Isocrinus. A couple of them.
3 of them. Wow.
At this speed, you're fine to
4.
touch the rock. It's the same as landing, basically. You're going to hit on the skid.
Okay. Did you want to zoom on any of these?
No, I think these are probably what we've seen, but I wouldn't mind taking a look to the left and just seeing what other are out on the rocks a little bit to our left. If there's anything else stands out over there.
Jaden, you're doing an unbelievable job. If I walked in this control room and watched you find this ROV,
That, however, I want to look at.
I would. There's no way I would guess it's your first time.
She has a gift.
Yeah.
Oh,
motherlode.
wow.
There we
The
go.
final rock delivers.
What a grand finale.
Yeah,
Wow.
Is that a sponge on the bottom left?
Yeah.
It is. It's a big sponge on the bottom left.
Really cool. Okay, what have we got here?
Where are they?
This is a primnoid?
So Brian, have I convinced you to do a mapping run for one of our dives before we set down?
Yeah, let's talk more about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm generally in favor of that.
Yeah. Can we
as
get
a general
a
rule,
zoom
but-
on
Yeah.
these fans?
Yeah, because these are
Yeah.
not immediately identifiable, so we would like to take a close look at one of these, but they all look to be the same, so pick whatever's easiest.
We've got some
Let's,
zoanthid encrusted branches as well.
That's
On yellow.
spectacular.
I think the current's coming from right to left.
Yeah, I think so. It's pushing
That-
me that way.
Yeah, so you want to have your nose into the current so it doesn't like push into. So if you want to walk around and look at those from 90 degrees.
Oh, and there's a Victorgorgia down on the bottom, too.
Yeah. Is this
So
the,
that way,
the type
if
of
you,
boulder you were thinking of?
if you wind up getting too
3D
close, you can
modeling,
just let
Brian.
go of the controls and the
This
current
is-
will push you away.
This is
from
exactly the thing I would like to use the wide
1,000-year-old
field
corals.
correlate and the and have taken an orbit mapping pass
Yeah.
on, but I know we don't have time.
Higher?
Just in a field of sand,
Okay.
this whole dive, and then on this one boulder.
And on
it's
one side of one boulder for the
one
most
side
part.
of one boulder, extremely
And a
dense
purple one?
corals.
And
how,
all about the same age and size, probably, or same size, so I'm inferring same
Yeah.
age.
how big are those corals?
So we've got
Well,
the,
the
10
lasers are 10
lasers,
centimeters, so somewhere between
pretty
3/4
good
of a
size.
meter and 1.5 meters in diameter, probably, or the
And
long
actually,
ways. Maybe a little bigger.
And how old?
I'm not even sure what family these are yet.
Yeah, I know we're about to finish up here, but do we have time to grab a snip?
Technically, no, but
Technically, no. What does
yeah,
that mean?
that's not my call to make. That's Dan's. But
That's a video first.
the cool thing is we can see the coral fans in the multi-beam.
Yes, you can.
Wow.
We've seen that before when we did the mapping for the photogrammetry stuff. We saw that, at first we thought it was noise, and then we overlaid it with the photogrammetry and the corals in the sonar.
That is a beautiful bouquet.
I'll tilt up for you a bit, Jaden. That's a good altitude there.
There's also a lobster on the rocks we haven't seen yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's called a
Good eye.
homerion. It's a very interesting crustacean. Sort of a strange shape.
All right. Should be good. Wait.
Yeah, well, even
Drifting a little
we don't have the
forward.
wide cameras on right
Yeah,
now,
you
but
might
we've
have to pull
done
back
almost
a
a full
little.
rotation. You
Yeah.
can definitely extract frames from this for
You can pull back real
structural
easy.
motion.
The tether's trying to pull you in.
Gotcha.
Come down a little more.
if we just come around the other side.
Yeah. So my last request is I would love a snip of one of these corals, and then we can call it good. Which I know we're pushing over time, but I do think it's important to get this one, or get one of these.
Okay.
You want to switch back, Dan?
Just a little snip, right, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll switch back.
All right.
And whatever's easiest.
If you wanted to zoom in, Amber, you can.
Okay, zooming in.
Wow.
All right, let me come out for you to get your orientation
Have
down.
you seen any nodes?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did.
Interesting.
I'm not going to swear to it yet, but I'm leaning more towards Parazoanthidae right now.
Leaning more towards what?
Bamboo. I originally thought these might be primnoids, but after that quick zoom, I think it looks more like a bamboo.
You guys just gave me a moment of utter terror there. Zooming in while we were changing seats. Oh, I thought the vehicle was
Going in. Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah, Jason Isis, maybe?
Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's
Pretty familiar.
That's a definite possibility.
Where do you want a snip?
Whatever is most expedient for you.
How old do you think these corals are, Brian?
Approaching 1,000 years would be my off-the-cuff guess, without digging through the literature and finding out exactly what the growth rate are. But somewhere between 500 and 1,000 years would be my off-the-cuff guess.
It's just another example of how
You get,
extraordinarily
still
fragile
picture there.
the deep ocean is.
Have you got a still?
Yeah, I mean, you go for it. We can pull it off the...
Yep.
It's framed up there.
It's a nice view.
I don't think the wide cameras are...
No, you don't.
No, I
You,
meant-
you
I
get it
meant
off the Zeus.
Yep, I got it.
Roger.
Yes.
Yeah, the purple one on the bottom is Victor Gorgia. And then in the rocks, we also see the what's it called? What's the Latin for that?
I just had it up. It's like
Is
a...
that an egg case there or something?
No, it's a blind lobster.
That orange spot in the purple coral?
Yeah, the Homerion.
Starboard
Yeah.
bio boxes.
Homerion asper.
Yeah, you can put
Is there a
the
common name for that?
cameras on.
I don't know.
Not that I know of, no. I think I just generally call it a blind lobster, but I don't. I'm not sure if that's beyond just my shorthand.
You can zoom in now.
Oh, zooming.
Zoom in when I get done. Can you hit the craft button on the PTZ for me?
Yes.
Yep.
Sure.
We got nodes. It is indeed a bamboo.
I'm gonna pan right, and we'll get a.
Can we also fire a Niskin here?
Yep, we will.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's get the coral first as we're setting up.
Okay.
So annoying when this happens. When you run out of time just as you find the thing you want to look at.
You got all the time in the world, Brent.
Yeah, well, Daniel's going to get mad at me, not you, if we're way late. Daniel.
Oh, yeah. If I had more weights to drop, we'd push it and then drop weights, but I already dropped my only weights. But I'm going to take a few minutes here just to relax and look at the polyps after that. My heart is still just...
I'm sorry, let's change it. Just
Well, you've got lots of times. We'll take zoanthids too.
I nearly ripped the joystick out of the console there, pushing buttons. Like, why is it not stopping?
Sorry. We'll pick a better time next time to do that too.
This is Wet Lab, SPL. Can you please get the zoanthids?
What is
Well,
Zoanthids. They also want the zoanthids.
We'll see. We got to figure out how to time, but so Dan, if your heart rate is down, the sampling requests are coming in fast and furious for more and more things.
Just if possible, no worries. Thank you.
Oh, and while you're at it, could you get the net and maybe get the lobster?
That boulder looks relatively
of a
large and
boulder?
angular. We could also
Maybe
just take the boulder.
if you use both manipulator arms, pick it up with 2 hands.
Yeah, we're still supposed to get a piece of basalt,
Just
remember?
take the whole rock.
I'm just as easily distracted as you guys are, so I'm happy to sit here on this bush all night.
There's a little recruit right there.
Oh yeah.
How much do you want? Just the normal?
Yeah, 10 to
beans?
15 centimeters.
Tilt down just a bit for us, Jade, and turn on the down lights.
Oh, and there's a Bracingid under there too.
Ah,
There goes.
some nematocarcinus.
Once
Oh my goodness, there's an egg
Oh,
case
God,
under there
there
too.
is.
There's a skate egg there.
right.
What is up with this rock?
What do you see? You mean those strands or look like legs underneath the rock is what?
This egg case, kind of like what we found the very first dive.
All right, well, we're just going to be late. I'm just going to text Daniel now.
This is the best, the best rock ever.
And Chris found it with the side scan sonar.
Yeah, kudos to Chris
Woo.
and his Minecraft world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Tomorrow he'll
amazing.
find a Japanese warship.
I'll see what I can do.
Look at it tucked under there.
Okay, you can open the starboard box for me.
Copy.
The diversity on this one boulder is rivals that of the entire rest of the dive, at least from the visual things on the surface.
What's to the right at the bottom there? Is that just
That's a
weird
giant
rock?
sponge.
That's a sponge.
That's a
Oh,
sponge.
That's a big sponge.
I don't know if we're going to get that egg case. It's way under there.
Yeah, it looks pretty similar to the other one, so
Well,
I
let's
mean,
see.
I don't want to get too greedy.
The zoanthids, or we go?
For you to
You're
write
gonna
paper, how many
you're gonna have
do
to
you
pan
need?
left to see them.
Yeah, I saw them there.
And what do you think the eggs are? What are the eggs?
So my best guess, based on the sample we collected, is that it's a Bathiraja, which is a genus of deep water skate. And a skate is similar to a stingray, but without the stinger. And these are a type of cartilaginous fish related to sharks that might use these types of habitats
Hold on.
as nurseries.
Okay, before you reposition over there, did you see the egg case under the overhang?
No, where is it?
It's basically right under there. Is there any prayer of getting that?
Yeah, that right.
It's pretty far under there.
Yeah.
There's no telling what you're liable to pull out of there.
Noodling.
Grab the zooantid and then we'll...
Okay.
Whatever it is, it'll be good.
Something like that. Happy with that?
A little bit more if you would. That looks great, thanks.
That's a different type of coral, Brian?
So it's a zooanthid. It's another type of cnidarian.
You can zoom
Generally,
in
we
there,
don't think of
Amber.
them as being true corals.
Full zoom.
So that's likely overgrowing an old coral skeleton.
Got some barnacles on there.
I think the last box is the very aft one, is that right?
Yes.
Jaden, is it right if I zoom in on your Atalanta view here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Which box do we have the all caps urchin warning on? Is number 1?
Yeah, the forward
Forward
box.
box, yep.
Lambda.
You can see the barnacle there on the bottom left as well.
Okay, you want to close the box for me? I'm gonna move a little bit.
Copy.
Can you point that big case out?
It should be, I can't, you may need to lighten it up, but it should be somewhere in that area.
Right.
It's behind the purple right from this angle.
Yeah, it's right behind the purple.
Roger.
It's
Is that the thing that looks
really-
almost red?
It's really under there.
No, it's
Yeah,
kind
I see
of
it.
green.
Yep.
What's the red underneath that ledge?
So
Can
we've
you,
got a bunch of pneumatochrysinus
Yeah.
We're gonna
shrimp.
have to open that iris up for
I'm
us.
all the way
You like-
there.
There you go.
You want me to zoom in to try and find it for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, just let it. All right, it's just above the left laser. It's way
Right,
up there.
I see it. Yeah.
Okay.
You can do arrows as well as circles. Very nice.
He's got it.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Where are we gonna put the egg case?
I don't think we'll be able to get it. So I'm pushing the ROV back with the manipulator on the rock there.
It'd be nice to add a little flashlight right to the end of the arm.
We are gonna have a camera on our new craft arm. It comes built in with a functionality for that. Might be a bit of collateral damage here, sorry.
A little avalanche.
Tilt up just a hair for me, Jade.
Copy.
Okay, everybody close your eyes. I'm closing the jaws.
Nope.
Try again.
Pulling something out.
The skate that laid this found a good safe spot.
No doubt about that.
That skate only thought it was a safe spot.
Well, we'll see here in a second.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try one more thing here. Do this way. Oh, come on, don't push her back.
You doing a little excavating, Dan?
I'll try not to. This is what we call getting Western with it here, John. That didn't work out as planned.
Yeah, I think it's too... Do you have enough slurp hose to get
No.
that far? Okay.
Yeah, definitely not. Okay. I would rip it off. Let me try just one more angle there.
Dan, does the arm give you any kind of tactile sensation as you're working in an area like this, that you could feel what's happening?
It has that functionality, but we typically don't use it because it's
I think if we're running the risk of knocking over a bunch of corals, we can just leave this one.
And it looks pretty
Could you
relative.
use the net?
Dan is determined. I mean, he was going to try one more thing, right?
bigger risk is breaking that manipulator. It doesn't grow back no matter how long you wait.
Dan, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, not having any luck there. It's basically a blind grab.
Yeah. Well, let's take the success we've got and...
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
And then one last request is trip a Niskin, please.
All right.
Noble effort.
You want to come up out of the dust? Are you happy to trip it here?
me to change to Niskin's view?
Could I get the sample
Yes,
number for
please.
the coral?
Any
Yeah,
of the
those would be samples
Have
58
to turn off
and
the
59.
downlights.
Say again?
58 and 59.
58 and 59, okay.
Yes, please.
Can you turn off the downlights for me, Jaden?
Copy.
Brian, are any of those pieces that fell off worth grabbing to extract, get some scientific value out of them since they broke off?
Yeah, they certainly could be, but we've already got some of that, and it is unlikely being in the sediment, but it is possible that they can continue to live for a while if they'd landed on the rocks.
Okay.
If they don't, someone will eat them. Niskin number, you have to switch that, sorry, that box camera as well. I'm not sure which ones are tripped. Thank you. Looks like I get to go for Gabby's.
Well, it should be, we should only have one Niskin trip, right?
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so if we're gonna
Niskin
do
number
two.
2 is...
Because we're gonna fire some on the way up too.
Alright.
So it'd be easier if they were in order.
Yeah, this will be Niskin number 2 if you want to go for it,
Isn't
Everett.
that Niskin number 5?
Oh, sorry. It used to be the other way around. I still haven't gotten over it, obviously. I just tripped that one, just touching it. You want to trip 2 of them?
No. All right, so that was 5. So Niskin.
That was number 2. Niskin number 2.
Okay.
Okay.
You
And
wanna
that
hit,
sample is 60.
the craft button on the PTZ for me?
Copy.
Oh, look, I got there without seeing it. Okay, anything else?
Nope, I think let's head on home. And we will want to trip 4 Niskins on the way up.
So you're going to want to turn, I can never remember this, Jaden. You're going to want to turn Atalanta in such a case to take that 0.4 tether wrap out.
Okay.
I
Let's try
usually
this.
just turn one, yeah, I just turn one way and see if it's the right way or not.
Nope, wrong way.
It's the opposite of Herc.
A little over an hour to the surface.
Once you come around there, I can click your auto heading off, and I'm going to pull on it, make sure its tether's clean, which it is. Okay, off bottom. You can start.
Turn auto heading off.
Yes, please.
Copy.
And you can start coming up on the winch.
All right.
Let's see what kind of light speed we can make here. Here, I'll hold that for a second if you want to make a note in the log there that we're off bottom.
Oh, you have your time to surface orator.
Yeah.
But you haven't sped up yet.
What's that?
You guys aren't up to full jam yet.
No.
Should I do one more gauge check before we...
Yeah, if you want to. That's, as long as they're fine. It's good for reference just to know that we haven't... Can you put the stick in? At
Yep.
about, we'll try for 25 meters a minute. Let's go on this side. I could play with the numbers here and get this I just actually watch the thrusters now and just get them barely turning. Lock that in. That should give us full speed. It's like 12%. I'm going to slow you down for a minute just to let her catch up here.
Copy. You got a little coral hanging onto you there.
Yeah, unfortunately some collateral damage there. Probably a bit out of the box.
What was our depth at that boulder?
15 and change.
Yeah, it was like 1580,
I think.
I have it right here. 1595.
1595.
Yeah.
I think so, if that's what we've been doing so far.
Yeah, Chris, if you'd help us remember, we want to fire Niskins at 1,500, 250, and 100.
1,000.
500, 250, and 100.
Okay.
I can do those on the fly, can we?
Yeah, totally.
We'll get up a little faster if you start streaming the ship.
All right. 0.5?
Yeah.
Bridge nav. Can we stream ahead 0.5?
Dan,
All
do you
right,
want
don't
me to
sound too
start-
excited, Oreo.
Do you want me to start paying it on the winch?
So, yeah. Oh, sorry guys, that's the Oreo, the officer on the bridge, making him funny. A good one too.
Ed doesn't trust us with even being able to listen to the bridge.
Occasionally, Oreo will talk on SPL. Very occasionally.
Yeah, I don't know why the bridge, I think our viewers would enjoy listening to the crews.
We add the radio in for launches and recoveries.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that chatter.
I do think that was the most spectacular, beautiful group of corals we've seen yet on any dive.
So diverse and so dense.
It's just extraordinary. And for that to be the our last stop was a terrific grand finale to the dive.
And might have hooked Jaden for life too. I don't know.
Yeah,
What'd you think, Jaden?
Yeah, that was
Natural.
pretty cool to come across that.
Yeah.
You really
You
do
know-
have a
Careful.
good pace. Like you're very gentle with it. It's, yeah, well done.
Yeah,
Jaden-
there was a couple of shout outs to Jaden about the piloting skills. I said lots of viewers are saying good job.
Thank you guys.
There you go. Congratulations. Jaden, you did that so well. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes when, just way before anybody's time here, but Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire used to dance together in all these different movies, very famous. And somebody asked Ginger Rogers once, what is it? We know what Fred Astaire does. What do you do? And she said, I do everything he does, but backwards and in high heels.
That's right.
And that's Jaden. She just handled that beautifully. She's doing everything you do, Dan, but did it backwards and in high heels.
You know, watch out.
Like
Kids
riding
will
a
be
bike.
running this
Riding a
outfit,
bike.
so. It's interesting to see the interns and the Herc pilots that come through here. And some people just pick it up easily, and some have to, like me, I really had to work at it. My first time I flew Science ROV, I lasted in the chair probably less than 5 minutes. Dr. Bruce Robinson said, who is this guy, and get him out of the chair.
You
And,
definitely settled down and got it.
the next time I lasted maybe 5 minutes or so, but the boss he would kick my chair every time I would do something he didn't approve of. But it took me quite a while to finally get it.
Dan, you said for those of us that don't know all the ins and outs of driving a ROV, what is it that you said Jaden got something in 5 minutes? It must take some people a year to figure out. What was that?
I've seen a lot of people sit in these chairs and ROV chairs for the first time over the years, and some people get it right away, and I can stop talking, and they get it even better once I stop talking. And I don't know what it is. One thing I can't quite put my finger on it. Probably one of the major things is if you watch the operator's hands and they're not doing this, all over, like smooth inputs. I had the early on in the development of ROVs, when I was still building them more than flying them, we had a instrument that would record all the inputs and outputs, and so the first 4 we built, we recorded everything, and we drag it back. I recorded everything in the field, and I drag it back and pour over it with the engineers. And we could tell the different pilots who was operating just by the nature of their control inputs. Some were very analog and long, slow sine waves. Some were just digital all the time. And this was on a veteran crew, all veteran operators. And later, one of my mentors was one of the guys on that crew. I wound up going to work for, after we sold the 4th one, I think, for the client. And we called him the Iceman. You could barely see his hands moving on the controls, so there was no, while Jaden was flying, you didn't see the video jerking all around left and right, up and down, and everything. It was a pleasure to watch the video. And that's what they got right away. So.
Also, it was the feeling, the tug, right? A lot of people don't feel that right away. Like you could tell.
Oh yeah, noticing that they were pulling Atalanta around right away.
The what? I'm sorry.
The pulling, when Herc stretches out.
The line would pull tight.
Yeah,
and
they were
between
able to
Atalanta
feel that.
and Hercules, which you don't want to do.
We do. Generally we don't, but like we do when we're trying to, intentionally do it. But I do it inadvertently to this day all the time, and Jaden noticed that right away.
What does that
Yes.
feel like? Is it just that you can't push forward anymore?
Yeah, it's kind of like you notice that as you're trying to move forward, you
LiDAR.
can't. You're not moving at the speed you expected.
Okay.
So I kind of just looked at the radar and saw Atalanta was.
Ah. Oh, so yeah, because it kind of bucks it.
Yeah.
An analogy is probably if you're riding a bicycle or driving a car on a different surface, so you're going down a paved pathway and you veer off into the sand on the beach, you can tell without looking. In this case, usually it's the way Herc behaves, the controls, being able to turn or maneuver Herc. Suddenly that's not happening, and there's a reason that's not happening. And some people, don't get that the vehicle's not responding normally. And yeah, for Jaden to pick that up right away is refreshing to see.
It's a great credit to you.
I think Jaden's been quietly watching what's going on over there as well. I find it more challenging to sit in Atalanta's seat because being somewhere on the spectrum, I'm either hyper-focused or la-di-da, not focused. My wife calls it magooing.
I hadn't noticed.
The array of fidget spinners all around.
Yeah, I'll be driving and I'm either doing 90 or 40, usually 90 in a 25 and 40 on the freeway, that kind of thing. But if you're not driving, I have no clue how fast the cars go.
So Chris, tell me a little bit about how you're doing these pre-dive mapping things with Norva.
Yeah, so what we generally do to maximize efficiency is we start somewhere along the dive track, upslope, and as we do the descent, we kind of do it down and along the slope, usually relatively fast, 3/4 of a knot or something. And we just kind of hold altitude about 30 meters above the ground. And that gives us about a 150 meter wide swath, straight backwards over the intended dive track. So with a map like that, we can resolve generally maybe 25 centimeter grid size. So we can see pretty small stuff. Definitely we can see, outcroppings of rocks and cliffs and things like that. So, but it's worked pretty well in the past, and
I thought it was a game changer.
yeah, and I mean, I think that it makes up the time that it takes in terms of just making better use of your actual transect time, because you're spending it going to targets rather than, wandering in the dark.
How well does that work over really steep terrain, though?
Oh, we've done it down 30, 40 degree slopes.
Okay.
Yeah. I have some maps that I can show you that we did last year. Do I have?
It
I probably have a...
It also helped a lot for our navigation on the way back up, because we could, especially in the radical terrain where there's big cliffs and outcrops, so we could, like the other day when we were following the canyon, Chris kind of had to guess on what he's seeing on the 2D sonar, but with that map in front, we can plan the vessel moves well in advance.
Yeah, and you can do it very, very precisely.
Yeah, and we'll put out Atlanta exactly where it needs to be.
So you said you did the mapping transit at 0.7 knots, roughly?
And
did we do it that fast?
I think 0.5.
I know we've definitely done it at 0.5. I think in really good conditions we might have tried faster, but 0.5 I think is a safe planning bet.
So
Yeah,
basically
it
a kilometer an hour.
Depends on who's
Sure.
comfort level of the operators.
But still, so you're talking about a 2-kilometer dive track being a 2-hour mapping line.
Yeah.
Is it possible at that stage of the mapping, Chris, to see a coral concentration like the one, that beautiful one we just saw?
The only way that I've seen corals is when you map them at a very oblique angle, because there's always a harder return. If you map them from the top down, there's a harder returns of the substrate behind them, and the sonar sees that instead of the corals.
Okay.
If you get them when they're sticking up in the water column and you kind of look at them at the side and there's nothing behind them, then they show up clearly.
Like we just saw.
Like we just saw. And I think that's why we saw those. They were so tall and frilly in the multi-beam, because it was picking up the bits of the coral, right?
Right.
Because they were at the very extremities of the beam, so like the beam is very parallel to the ground at that point.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the steeper the better, because we're burning that time going down anyways.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to, if it's 1,000 meters of slope, you got to add that descent time into your transect time, or subtract it from your transect time, because you would have been using that anyway.
Were we able to see much of the top of that mesa with the side scan sonar? We weren't up there that long, but I wonder if the side scan could pick up as much, show us that it was really flat and how.
Yeah, as far as we saw 75 meters out to either side, so we had a 150 meter radius circle, and it was very flat. Other than those rocks. The general terrain was very flat.
Right.
But I mean, we knew that from the shipboard multi-beam, basically.
So we'll be, now that I'm up to speed and I'm taking advantage of the vessel towing me, and as opposed to burning horsepower to keep Herc away from Atlanta, I'm showing just about an hour to the surface from here. So I'll be a half hour late.
Do we need to update the bottom depth, or does it automatically?
No, that's the time from where we are now. So at the bottom depth doesn't care. The bottom depth's only for on the way down, so we know.
Gotcha.
We can glance at that and say, hey, you're gonna keep a good eye on that winch while it's moving constantly.
So one of the really interesting things about Palau, that there are very few, I think a couple other places outside of Palau, but there are very few other places is the marine lakes and the jellyfish. And Ayla, that's what you do for work, right? Can you tell us a little more about the ecology of the marine lakes and what you do in research there?
Sure, I can just share a little bit because I just started, so I'm learning a lot. So what we do in the marine lakes, we just survey the water profile, and so we measure salinity, what else, pH, chlorophyll in the water. We also want to look at the chemocline depth, which is the pink layer in the jellyfish lakes. So basically after that layer, there is no oxygen under that, no life under. And then we also do some jellyfish counts. There's a standard protocol to counting jellyfish over the lake. So yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff we do when we look at the water chemistry in the lakes. Yeah.
And how many jellyfish lakes are there at Palau? I know the one that is famous tourist attraction is kind of like the one that everybody goes to, but you said there were many others that are not open to the public.
Yes, so the marine lakes, there is actually over 50 marine lakes in Palau.
How many?
Over 50 marine lakes, but only 5 of them have jellyfish jellyfishes in them. Yeah.
So there's 4 that are not open to the public that y'all protect and preserve to
And
keep
monitor.
pristine.
Yeah. So when I first started, they had already surveyed most of the lakes, but every month we monitor at least 3 of the jellyfish lakes. Yeah.
How far inland are they, and how would the jellyfish have gotten into the lake first from the ocean?
Well, the lakes
you
are
hit
just
craft on
like isolated on the rock islands, which are just spread out in the lagoon. So they're not that far inland. You can just hike over. Some of them are pretty short hikes over, but they're just connected to the lagoon via tunnels, small fissures, etc.
So the jellyfish could have gotten there through tunnels or through big typhoons lifting the
you
whole.
can speed
Well,
up the water
I'm not
level.
really sure about that one, but I think they've been isolated in there
20 is their
for
usual number.
centuries, maybe. Yeah. More than that, of course. But
Growing up in Houston,
It could
I've
be
learned over the
25
years
if we
that
had more ballast to drop.
the barrier islands, Galveston and the Texas
Jake was
barrier
going up at
islands,
30
get completely submerged during hurricanes. They go underwater completely. And it's highly likely at some point, as low as, Palau is, y'all are like Texas and the coastline, a big typhoon come through is going to raise the water level enough that parts of the island are going to go completely under. And it just occurs to me perhaps that's one way the jellyfish might have gotten there.
I think I've heard some stories about the jellyfish, how they got through small holes in the rock islands and then just got trapped inside and lost their ability to sting.
And
So
no
that's something I
predators.
heard. Yep, no predators.
What do they eat?
Ayla? I know they follow the sun, so usually...
zooplanktons?
Yeah, you
What
could...
do they eat? What?
So we collect like zooplanktons.
Okay, zooplankton.
Yeah, so I think that's some of what they eat.
They've got a photosynthetic symbiont, right? So
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so usually when we go into the lake, they say whatever time it is, they know the perfect spot for where the jellyfish sort of huddle because they just
follow the sun. Yeah.
So, Brian, I think you said they have a symbiotic photosynthetic bacteria that lives inside them that produces food and energy for them in the sun?
Yep, just like shallow water corals do.
Fascinating. Did they evolve that, I suspect, after they got trapped in the lake and didn't need their stinging cells anymore and didn't have much to eat?
I don't know enough about the history. There are other jellyfish that still have their ability to sting that are photosynthetic. The Cassiopeia, genus Cassiopeia, is the upside-down jellyfish that sit at the bottom.
We have that one upside
You
down
have that?
Yeah, you have here too. And they have them and they sting.
Yep, they do. And it kind of hurts.
Yeah, that's not they're on the stingy end of things.
Are there jellyfish in the ocean that do not have the ability to sting?
Yeah, we have some non-stinging jellyfishes in the lagoon.
In the ocean?
Yeah.
In the open ocean?
Yeah. Oh, in the open ocean?
There are definitely jellyfish that their stings are so mild we don't really feel them as humans, like moon jellies and Aurelia and things like that, that you can basically touch and not get hurt, but they still can sting their prey.
I'm pretty sure the deep sea, the Stygiomedusa, the velvet curtain, I don't think that's a stinging jellyfish.
How's it catch fruit?
The reason I ask is it just occurred to me that it seemed to me if all the jellyfish in the ocean have the ability to sting, except maybe a very few, those that washed into the lagoon or got into the lagoon at some point in the far past probably had the ability to sting and then they didn't need it anymore. And as they evolved, they just lost it and kept the photosynthetic bacteria as their food source. Life is good. No predators, free food, free sunlight. And how many jellyfish are in one lake? Millions. Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Do you guys ever try to count the jellyfish?
So there is a method that we use to count. There's like 15 stations, and we measure it with a net by however many jellyfish we count, and then they have like a formula to calculate and estimate how many per million.
Are there any other animals in the lake other than what other animals are in there other than jellyfish?
So there's actually two types of jellyfish, the golden jellyfish and the moon jellies. But then there are also other, like, especially on the sides of the lakes, benthic animals. Like there's a sea anemone or anemone in there, other fish, yeah. Because there's mangroves in the lakes too, so there's some animals in there.
Sometimes a crocodile.
Yeah, the occasional crocodile.
Occasional friendly crocodile.
My lifelong best friend is an avid scuba diver, and he said that's one of the greatest attractions for scuba divers. It's on their bucket list, just to come to Palau and dive in the jellyfish lake. What's that, Dan?
Right on.
It seemed to have a little vibration to it yesterday when you had, at certain times it hold still and it had a shimmy.
Of course. 3. Oh, are you ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Niskin. Niskin faster. I see it wiggling.
Oh. There goes another one, huh? There you go.
So 3 didn't trigger.
Yeah, so that was Niskin 4.
What sample number?
Sample 61.
Right on.
So just an update for our viewers. We just completed surveying an unnamed seamount, roughly 70 nautical miles east of Babaldob Island, and the ROVs are currently ascending, making their way up to the surface, and we are at about depths of 975 meters. Ascending fast. Oh, how fast are we ascending?
About 22 to 25 meters per minute.
At what depth Brian, at what depth does the light penetrate? To about 1,000 meters, is it, that the last of the sunlight starts to disappear?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the textbook answer. I mean, there's a lot of variation in water quality and clarity where you are in the world and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the textbook answer. Is there's no photons from the sun below 1,000 meters, and generally not enough light for photosynthesis below 200 meters. But I've seen photosynthetic algae down to almost 380 meters in areas with super clear water. So and in places with super murky water, you can lose that at 10 meters. So there's a lot of variation.
Well, the water here is exceptionally clear. It's probably then possible down to 380 meters or so for photosynthesis and in and around Palau.
Here's probably, it's clear by like how far you can see, but it's as oceanic water goes, it's not all that clear. I suspect this would be in the 2 to 240 range.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
I know that trees and plants on the surface, that photosynthesis occurs at different levels and different depths in the leaf and in the green part of the plant. Is that true as well as in the ocean? Animals that photosynthesize, that the photosynthesis occurs at different depths, at different locations in the animal, depending on their cell type and shape?
I don't know. As a general rule, photosynthetic organisms in the water here are way, way smaller, and so you don't have the same like large number of tissues and stuff like that. So I'd be a little bit surprised if there was that much structure within the organism. I think what you're going to see here is more different organisms with different pigmentations kind of stratified in the water column to optimize to different depths.
And they probably photosynthesize at different wavelengths of light.
Across the different taxa, I'm sure there's some variation there as well, yeah.
I remember being astonished when I first learned that photosynthesis occurs in plants at different depths and different wavelengths. It hadn't occurred to me, but it makes perfect sense. So it's undoubtedly true in the ocean as well.
So, what? Next one over.
Oh, yeah.
There you are. No, now you're muted.
So Dan, we have a request. Some viewers are asking you to finish your story about the winch and the slip rings. They would like to know
Oh, yeah.
what they needed to do to be able to make it work.
Where was I in that saga? Oh, yeah, so we sent the original one out. So we put this new slip ring in, and that's, you know, it's a, let's see, it's a five-digit piece of, no, six-digit piece of equipment. No, five. I don't know. They're pretty expensive. Price of a brand new truck, probably, or a brand new car. And took the old one out and offloaded it off the boat in Canada. We're going to send it to the manufacturer to be repaired. And they're usually bulletproof. You know, that one had been in there for 10 years, something like that, probably in that winch. And so that gave us the fourth pass to give the WCA cameras their own dedicated fiber and still give us a spare fiber for Hercules or Atalanta if we need one. And then I think it was, yeah, this year, early on this year, for some reason that brand new slip ring just lost 2 of its passes. So we had another spare on the boat, so that brought us down to only 2 fibers. We need 3, one for Atalanta, one for Herc, and one for the WCA cameras, which have their own 10 gigabit fiber network, because there's, you know, so much data coming through there. Especially when we're doing photogrammetry, we're downloading 2 high resolution pictures every second. And so we had to drag our deep spare out, and that was an old spare that we put in that we took out of our 421 winch we used to have on the deck. So we're back to 3 pass slip ring, and so we have no spare. And that's all right. You know, we have 3 fibers and everything's all good. So, but in a slip ring, there's always like a good pass that, you know, has hardly any attenuation, and then there's the ones that aren't so good that have maybe a little more attenuation. I don't know why that is. And they're all good enough they're within spec, and everything is fine. But we've had some problems with the old spare. One of the passes is not ideal. It's still within spec, but it's, you know, on the upper edge of specification. So there's some optical fluid in the slip ring that allows the high-speed data, the fiber optics, to go through. And so when I was saying I thought I fixed our choppy video the other day, one of our, if you're familiar with network stuff at all, there's a term called failover. So you basically have 2 network paths, and if one doesn't work, the system can switch over to the other one, and you don't lose data. But by having that in between our 2, we have a dedicated network bottle for the cameras, and then another one that's on Hercules for other stuff. One of those is Chris's Norbit sonar, which takes a fair bit of data, more than he says, I think. But
it's only 100 megabit wire.
Yeah.
It can't go faster than that.
So it's we have a gigabit Ethernet on Herc. That's like the built-in, you know, our regular Ethernet. So with that failover cable in place, which is a big subsea, you know, expensive cable, it's going between 2 titanium bottles. What was happening is the wide field camera array data was taking that path through the gigabit Ethernet instead of up its own fiber up to 10 gigabit Ethernet, and it was stepping all over Chris's Norbit. And it was also causing, we think, the choppy video that you saw on the last couple dives. And Mike was working furiously behind the scenes to figure out what was going on there. And then I pulled a really classic mistake. I thought I disconnected that cable and capped it off. I inadvertently disconnected Chris's Norbit, so that was, you know, a whole behind the scenes drama there. And I think it was before this dive. So we rectified that. We took all the cables out, cleaned all the connectors, made sure we had the right ones out, and we took out that failover one, so it couldn't so the WCA cameras couldn't possibly interfere with Chris's Norbit. On the last expedition, that wasn't a big deal because we didn't have Norbit in, so having the failover in was good. If we lost the fiber pass, we still had the WCA cameras. So that was most of the backstory. So by taking the back door out, if you will, now here we are. We have an issue with the fiber, we think, and so we have no WCA cameras. So as soon as we get on deck, that'll be one of the things the crew will be troubleshooting, is that fiber path through 7,382 kilometers of cable and half a dozen connections. There's a specialized connector on the wide field camera array housing. So, and that fiber is really delicate, and then it runs into Hercules J-box. There's a connection there, it runs through the tether. There's another connection in Atlantis J-box. Goes up the umbilical, and there's a J-box that you can not quite see on the winch going around and around. And then that goes through the slip ring. There's another J-box down there in the hold, another connection, then it comes up to a box outside the van here. That's another connection. Then it goes finally to a Cisco router behind Amber, behind the rack there. So I lost count of how many fiber optic connections that is. That's true for all the telemetry for Herc, so all the control, all the video you see. But as you can imagine, it can be challenging to figure out where.
While we're on this topic,
where is it?
I've never understood how a fiber optic slip ring worked.
Me neither.
Okay.
I know there's a specialized optical fluid in there, and I believe there's some magic mirrors.
And the slip ring transmits the light, the data precisely across essentially an opening.
Correct, and the whole thing with fiber optic data transmission, it relies on power, and that's milliwatts of power. So we start out at actually negative milliwatts of power, and it's a logarithmic scale. So a good power level is I think -8 coming right out of the laser. And at the other end we have like -11, but that's not a linear scale. So if you start out at 0 dBms, and then you go to -1, and then you go to -2, so -2 is half of -1, so it's a very, infinitesimal amount of power.
One of the great challenges of of course you have to use fiber optic obviously to communicate beneath the water. I'm not sure what else you would do. In all my conversations with the engineers and scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and as they developed and I helped fund and push the Europa Clipper orbiter mission and the Europa lander, one of the challenges on the lander, because the next generation, after we orbit Europa, identify the ocean, characterize the ocean, the ice, etc., there's going to be crevasses, and the next step beyond the lander is going to be, people are talking about getting through the ice into the ocean.
10 kilometers of ice.
And
right?
So my question would be, Dan and all of you, is how would you think we would be able to communicate with a submarine ROV that you need to melt through the ice, like Bob Ballard says, like a hot penny, penetrate through the ice of Europa, 5 to 7 or 10 kilometers, and then drop out into the ocean and continue to communicate with it as you swim around sniffing out hydrothermal vents or exploring that ocean under the ice on Europa. Would it'd have to be fiber optic, wouldn't it? A cable that you pulled behind you as you went and melted through the ice?
One of the amazing technologies I've seen since working for Dr. Ballard was when the NUI vehicle was out here and we were doing the tech challenge. And they deployed that thing on the fiber optic that is used by the military, so it's used in a torpedo on a submarine. So it's this big canister. It's probably, you know, a foot, 330 millimeters in diameter, and maybe about the same size long. So
it's spooled out behind it.
yeah, maybe it's about the size of a basketball. So the NUI vehicle has that in this contraption that they put over the side.
What's a NUI vehicle?
The Nereus underwater...
Under ice. Near under ice.
Sorry, under ice.
Under ice, okay.
Yeah, so that vehicle is actually meant to go under ice, and I believe that spool has like 20 kilometers of fiber on it, or some crazy amount.
So if you dropped out beneath the icy Europa, you could spool out enough fiber optic cable.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw NUI. We operated it off, I think we're off the coast of California. It was at 1,000 meters and on just the bare fiber, and Nautilus was having some issues with the DP, and we drifted off several kilometers, and NUI was on the bottom the whole time with that fiber and never missed a beat.
Under the ice?
No, we were off the coast of California.
Oh, got it, okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the worries would be, does the ice of Europa, or for example the Arctic ice on the Earth, does it shift? Would it shear the cable?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. But I was impressed that we were, you know, that Nautilus was so far away from NUI on bare fiber, and they maintained telemetry and never lost the fiber.
And how thick is the fiber?
It's like human hair size, microns. The glass fiber itself, the bare fiber is.
And it's got enough tensile strength to survive being spooled out, but...
Amazingly, yeah. So that's what guides when they launch a torpedo. They have telemetry to the torpedo through the fiber, and it's spooling out rapidly.
And you can't jam that.
No. And they can, you know, control it real time. So I think that they're using that technology also with drones now. I read something about
yeah, spooling out a fiber optic cable behind a drone that protects it from being jammed.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted to try it with a like a Blue Robotics vehicle and a fishing rod. See if I could, you know, literally cast a little ROV over the side and let it run down on a fiber. And when it got to the bottom, it, you know, dropped a burn weight, and then I could fly it around till its batteries are gone, and then it floats back to the surface. So I could do all that from my, you know, from my kayak.
Yeah, and you could invent one that would help a fisherman find fish, that would drive the hook and the bait to the fish underwater.
Yeah, that, and about 70% of the west coast under 1,000 meters is not explored yet because, you know, we come out here on this big, beautiful vessel with this highly modified, specialized ROV, and the scientists, you know, they want to go deep and find deep water stuff.
The shallow water is not explored, as you say.
Yeah, one of the OSU scientists was telling me that over 70% of the west coast under 1,000 meters has not been explored, and a lot of it's, you know, it's not big shiny corals and rocks. It's.
Can I interrupt the conversation for a moment? Can we stand by for the 500-meter Niskin, please?
Roger. Thanks for the reminder, because I need time to get my old craft fired up here. So what am I? I'm on 5 now, right?
Yep.
It's been a great dive, guys. Congressman Culberson signing off.
Thank you for your company.
How much time do you think we got left, Dan? Half hour?
I don't know. Jaden's got the number up.
We have 23 minutes.
Okay.
You give Mike a heads up.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
500.
Deck, control. Okay, Mike, we're at 500 meters, 500.
Niskin number 5 has been tripped.
Sample number, please.
Sample 62.
Data, could I get the sample number?
Oh. Sample 62.
62, thank you.
What's the last one? 100 meters?
Well, we got either 250 or 100. I'm trying to get a hold of someone from that team to figure out which one they want to skip since we had the misfire.
Really? I think we need to... I didn't think we would, I thought we'd be able to make 30 on the way up. Jake made 30 the other day. Jaden's got it matched, like.
Yeah. Dialed.
It's crazy. Nobody can do that. Just showing off over there. Attention to detail.
Bridge nav. We're at 400 meters. We're about 15 minutes to the surface, 15 minutes to surface.
So if we would have done 30, we would have been on time, right? Shaved half an hour, another 10 meters a minute. Is that right?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. That's going to be my story.
Bridge nav. Can you confirm we have air-enabled tuggers?
We all know what's really going to happen. You're
Thank
like
you.
those scientists. They just, I told them we had to leave, and they're just like, I need that
Captain's
one
already
more
on the
sample.
bridge.
And they're like, well, I need that one
Jeez.
more sample.
I was actually planning on, like I was having that in the bank. We can't always do, like it varies, and then we come up and hit the thermocline or whatever, and the speed goes, or we have some issues on the way up. So I always like to have a little on the bank and not run it at ludicrous speed the whole way. But I wasn't planning on 22, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure Gabby told me Jake was getting 30. He's crazy.
She just did that to tweak you.
She did that because she wanted an extra cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Before she had to put her boots on.
.345.
You happy with the speed, or do you want to slow down? 0.3.
I'm happy with 0.5. 0.5 is my go-to.
All right. You want me to line you up with the ship, or do you think you can steer in?
I can steer it.
All right.
Especially at 0.5.
Yeah.
We used to always do 0.5,
And then somebody got soft.
no, somebody has to have a... I think that my personal take is the ship and the captain's. He's been driving ships for a while. The ship has more controls if you're steady as you go at half a knot. Brian's been down there and seen it. They go from like 0.3 to 0.5 to 0.75. It's like, it's either half an hour or not, for me anyways.
On what?
Oh, the speed on recovery. Fair enough if you're bucking a 2-knot current, but you can tell by the DP how hard it's working to...
My favorite is when you're in a massive current and you're going backwards over ground towards the vehicle to deal with the 2-knot current you're fighting into.
Yeah.
That hurts everyone's brain. We're like, oh my God, we have a negative speed. And you're like, no, but not through the water.
Yeah, I don't know how many mates or captains I've seen with a very puzzled look on their face when we tell them we went 0 way through the water.
Yeah, that shouldn't be that hard, but there is a class of officer who's never had to put gear over the side.
Yeah, exactly.
30-meter warning to next Niskin.
We're going to do 250. I'm taking it.
250.
Roger.
And that'll be it.
Can you put PTZ on craft, please?
Roger.
This thing has had a mind of its own, especially from what I've been told in the shallow water.
Back to Niskins.
What's that?
You want me to go back over to the Niskins?
No, I have them on the other camera here.
Okay.
We're doing 250, not 100. We're doing
250, we said, right?
Correct.
Grab this thing. You can turn on the downlight, so that would help me out.
Copy.
I guess I gotta stop printing honeycomb parts and print some lotto balls.
Huh?
Maybe I'll print some hollow ones.
Watch them.
I think I just tripped it. So some are like ridiculously tight. Some are a bit loose.
that sample 63.
Okay, that was the last Niskin trip, I believe.
63, Roger.
Yep. Thank you all.
Thank
Science is
you.
done for the day.
Did you just turn off the light? Just wondering if it went off.
Am I good to turn it off?
You can leave it on.
Okay.
It'll help Mike to see the vehicle when it comes up.
Bridge nav, 10 minutes till surface.
I give all the boxes a tap closed. I usually do that when we come off bottom and I do it again. Here. They're sealing nicely. I tried to hold my hands in the starboard box and like, it's so cold. Oh, you were doing it too, right?
Yeah. Gotta get a picture with my rock once it gets up here.
Yeah. That never gets old, Jaden. I got a few pictures of rocks. And
You know, we got a scale too. We got a holding scale, like a luggage scale, and we can even get your rock in a bag and you can show how much it weighed.
never gets old. Steve complained one year we had like 890 pounds of rocks or something. We had a lot of
From one
geologists
dive.
on.